So, hello everyone, this is OK here, and we're watching Jasugi99, aka 12teen, in his Round 4 Crazyhouse World Championship match against Atamek. And we're in Game 1, just playing through, it's a e4, knight c6, so white's got a good grip on the centre, chooses to have a sort of, keep his king in the centre, forks the two knights, and is trying to work his way in on g7. Couldn't the pawn on h6 have been taken? Maybe there's some tactics like bishop f6, then knight at g4. No, bishop takes f6 and knight coming into d5 maybe. Then the queen goes back, and then another knight on f6. Yes, that's probably the idea of that. Opperwaisen also says knight h5, knight f6. Yeah, or even the existing knight. Yeah, so one of the others. Yeah, and JSVC says not the knight in hand. So that was a nice little. So now he's really worked his way into g7. He moves his queen into d4, so he's using the pieces on the board effectively. He's got that weakness on g7. He castles queenside. Oh, nice. So that the weakness on g2 wasn't a problem for white. Okay, so he finally does take, and he does do this knight h5, knight f6. So Arthur was talking about the later position. Okay. And so Atamek is having to give up the queen. So I'm also chatting in the Discord house party, and anyone's welcome to jump in. So don't need to mute yourselves. Jump in, jump in. So king b1, just getting his king a little bit safer. Knight at d4 and knight at a5. So what's... So Atamek, despite losing the queen, is actually quite secure. Like g7 is covered 3 times. His real weak square g7 is covered 3 times. Difficult though to cover to pick up h6. So it's a chess game, but white's got 2 queens. So it's how to use those 2 queens. So it looks like he wants to take rook takes knight or something. Okay, so bishop b5, he's probably wanting to put a pawn on d5, and indeed he does. So he's working his way into the light squares now. So he's I think especially after that b6 move, that was there an alternative to what was b6? Yeah, b6. b6. I mean that was asking. I mean that knight was actually a bit useless on a5, so it was asking for the sack on c6, and oh okay, so he wins a piece, but then he doesn't have any more pawns in hand, so he goes for c7. He takes c7. Okay, and now he's going to crash in on g7 finally. Still not so clear. He's trying to deflect the bishop from protecting the e6 square, maybe. Oh, what's the mating idea here? Oh, very nice. Yeah, covering, sacking a queen at h6 to draw the king up, and he had a second queen in hand. Okay, very nice. Okay, so game 2, e4 from Atamek. Okay, so we have a very standard sort of e4, e5 kind of position. Black Jasugi opting for bishop e7 sort of approach. It's quite an early c3 from white, trying to discourage knight d4, I guess. h6. Okay, h6. What's the idea? So, seems like black has sorted out. Yeah, h6 is always dangerous because sometimes white can just sack which protects h6. But here, black seems to have regained equality. he's suddenly controlling most of the squares in his half of the board until that knight dropped. So it's now not so clear. So the knight maybe trying to hop back and take f4. Maybe people who are more familiar with e4, e5 positions will be able to judge this position better. So I mean, black still got a bishop in hand, so what could he do? He could try and do something concrete. I mean, he's got to be careful. So just as an example, a move like King h7 would walk into tactics like Knight g5, Queen takes bishop. So, the bishop. What I was trying to say is the bishop was a potentially hanging piece there on g4. So there are. I mean, I'm not sure if they're good, but there are these ideas. Queen takes bishop. Pawn takes knight though at the end of that sequence, so maybe that wouldn't really work. Knight takes bishop. Pawn takes. Okay. So e2 is so e2 and h3 are the sort of the weaknesses in white's position, but they're actually very well defended. d3 as well. So it makes it tempting. There are two moves which are tempting: dropping a knight on e5, and the other move which he played was putting the bishop on g5. Just to bishop at g5 more defensive, knight at e5 more attacking. So he's just pushing white's pieces out of his half of the board. Ooh, free pawn. Does he want to take it? He does. And now, so now white to move, but black actually does have some good initiative here. Probably knight at g5 here, for example. Goes for the slightly more aggressive knight at h4. Like white will just solidify with the bishop on e2 or g4, and the question is, could the bishop be hit? Ah, he doesn't. He goes for a counterattack on the queen, so it takes. Ah, so maybe that was the reason for the knight being on h4, is actually a defensive move as well, quite cunningly. Okay, so he must be thinking in some positions queen takes rook being on the cards if he needs a rook. Like queen takes rook here, queen takes rook, rook g1. Yeah, so if queen takes rook, queen takes, he's getting the queen. It's dangerous though, because okay, it's both dangerous and interesting. Hang on a second. There was potentially also at g2. No, g2 is always covered. Bishop takes g2. So queen takes rook, king takes maybe was safe for white though. So okay, what is Oppa saying? He says knight d2, queen g1 ideas. Maybe the unnatural knight e4 needs to be played. Knight d2. Oh, so he's saying he's going directly for queen g1. Queen g1. Okay, so that move was not just attacking the queen, it's also defending the key f2 square. And again, he's really trying to solidify f2 so that he can make a break for it with his king. So not only covering the diagonal, but also trying to solidify f2, because if f2 falls, it's all over. But he's allowing queen g1. He's allowing queen g1, but he's not allowing f2 to fall. So and Highest Cliff is suggesting interesting ideas with at e1, knight g1. At e1 takes knight g1, king e1 might, but then you'd have knight takes bishop. The bishop would hang. So at e2, queen takes, queen g1 would be mate, so at e2, king takes is necessary. So it is a very interesting idea. At e2, king takes, knight g1, maybe you pick up a rook, maybe there's a queen trade. Yeah. But those bishops seem to... So 12t will find... So what does he find? He loses the queen. He hasn't got a rook, though. That's slightly... He wanted a rook for this position, and now... Rook a to e8, says Katask. So maybe that's one way of trying to get the rook. In the meantime, is his own position safe? Knight, two bishops and a queen. So h7 is covered, but there's only one knight in hand, so there are no like two knight mates. This is risky looking. I mean, knight at e7, he's saying I've got luft on h7, so maybe I'm just about okay, but if bishop h7, you'd have to take with the king, because obviously bishop h7... Oh, that's a trick, that's a trick. A beautiful trick. He's trying to go bishop at h7, knight takes, knight at e7, checkmate. And obviously he blocked off the mate. He had to regard the luft. So it was not just a defensive move on g2. It was also... Okay, knight e7 comes, but not with the... Okay, pawn, knight, two bishops, only 8 seconds on the clock, so big pressure on 12-team. But the bishop, he's managed to open up his bishop on h8, and pawn at f4 ideas. Nothing concrete, but white's got the two knights and the queen, and it's just going to be really solid, yeah. Knight. Oh, that looks interesting. So something on g6. He's trying for something on g6. Queen takes. Takes. g7 weak. And the point is f6 has to do tended as well. Very hard to defend both. So counterattack, wonderful. We see the counterattack. It's only 9 seconds on the clock. With 3 knights in hand, can we get a counterattack? This is very exciting. Bishop takes rook, queen takes. At least now you have a breather to guard. Okay, so king takes would have been more daring, but the checks would have continued perhaps. Okay, 8 seconds against 21 seconds. Still tough. But it's got 3 knights in hand. He wants to get a knight on h4 somehow, but there's no time at the moment. Still has to defend. Takes. He still had rook takes, right? So knight takes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. He's managed to get knight h4, and that was the trick he really wanted the whole time. Maybe he still can't take the queen because g6 is weak. But if you can take it with check, if you had a rook for h2, the idea is somehow getting it with check. But he doesn't. So he has to defend. Takes. He doesn't want to lose bishops. Although white's got 3 bishops, so this is actually looking risky. He takes the queen with check. Ouch. Oh, that could be it. That could be it. Yeah, and that's mate. Well, that was a good, that was a strong turnaround. I didn't follow the chat as closely as I should, but those who are watching the stream could have seen the chat as we're going along. And yeah, do join in, guys, in the Discord channel if you want to. Cat Poacher says incredible defense. Yeah, I was caught up with the game. I didn't see the chat during the game. I saw Oppa saying 12-team will find something, and then he did. So that's 2 games to love against atamek. It's a tough position to defend. We're going to have more of that next game, I imagine. Playing as black is tough, even for the best players. So apparently the key error was... Katas is joking. Bishop b5, -4. I'm not sure if I assume he was joking. Bishop b5. Maybe, yeah, I can't remember the position. I thought he was saying bishop g5, like at the beginning of the game. because maybe that wasn't the theory. Bishop b5, I can't remember. Yeah, it was a joke, says Katask. Okay, so bishop e7. This is it even a possibility? Bishop e7 takes f6. Okay, maybe that's not such a good idea because g3 would be weak. He's not cutting off this diagonal just yet. Oh, yeah, that's what he is doing actually. So the idea of c3 is to push d4. But if you push d4, then e4 becomes weak, and then f5 falls. So do you have time for it? Okay, so the plan is takes f6 and knight at g7 to pick up the bishop. And Katas says that e4, e5 favours atamek style, whereas Jasugi likes more positional games. It's quite funny because in Bughouse, Jasugi trades quite heavily, but in Crazyhouse, he sometimes, especially in slower time control games, um, he plays more positional and less trading, but not against Oppa. So against Oppa, it just doesn't do to play positional because Oppa is the beast at positional Crazyhouse. So actually, I was noticing in the 1+0 Bullet Crazyhouse World Championship, so Oppa would be basically outplaying 12 team positionally, but which is why but 12 team was able to win that match in the end by somehow getting to grips, somehow getting to grips with so the phase of the match when he was doing badly is when Oppa was just completely outplaying him positionally, and when 12 team figured out how to avoid that and play the kind of positions where that didn't happen, it made a huge difference. Okay, so pushing. So no piece in hand. He's just going for a piece trap, and GSVC saw it coming. B4, A4, and Katas says counter pawn storm. G5, G4. So Oppa says white's got more defenders on the king side than black has on the queen side, so white should win. Just a very just saying, put pieces around your king. So does he have time to go for the piece hunting? Not really, because takes. The d file would open. What's he actually done? Doesn't e4 fall here? I don't see. I don't. So I still don't. Why didn't black just take on e4 immediately? E4. Oh, I guess. Yeah, I guess d1 was well protected. Okay, so there's no. I'm not sure. So he didn't want queen a8. Oh, so black didn't want a queen trade. Okay, takes queen a8. Oh yeah, and that at b7. Okay, yeah. Okay, nice one. It looks like a tough position though. Um, I mean, I don't see. I mean, black. People are saying in the chat no counterplay for black, but I don't know. I feel black's getting something. I guess black's lacking pieces in hand. That might be an issue. So this is exploiting the pin on f2, but white still controls g3, so what does this do? He's... Okay, so he throws in a check. Okay. So now white would love a queen trade, sure. Can he just... Or going for a rook, maybe. For rook and takes bishop, maybe at b7 in the future. Was there a problem with just taking the bishop, takes... Yeah, probably, because bishop takes... Does bishop sack on f2? Bishop sacks on f2? Okay, I'm really not sure, but there was some issue with just taking on g3. But okay. Okay, he's going for a rook, he goes for a knight. Why couldn't black just take that, because knight takes pawn as mating with at g7 to follow? Okay, that's good to see. He does knight takes f3 anyway. Ooh, he's got a second knight in hand, so this is going to be really hard to defend. Okay, this is really, really hard to defend, and you don't even have... You just don't have anything. It's game over. Not only takes g8 his idea, but takes d2. Which is what he played in the end, yep. That was sneaky, says JSVC. Yeah, that was... I don't know, yeah. They're both really strong players, that was really strong. Meaning atamek is hard to beat, but Jasugi is finding things far too deep for me to see. Okay. Oh, so we have Scandi with a pawn sack Scandi. So he doesn't want to repeat game 2 straight away. And JSVC calls it the 12-teen gambit upper tempo. Not quite sure where the tempo was lost, but okay, so white has exhausted his pawns, but has a very solid setup, and now white's also harassing that queen, so I think white's quite comfortable for now, but so, okay, what's the idea of that move? He wants, if he does get a pawn at h6, oh yeah, of course defending b2. Doesn't want to create any weaknesses on b2. So yeah, so I feel like white's position is quite solid, but he doesn't have like the pawn in hand for h6 that he would have wanted, because he's exhausted his pawns on c3 and f3. So takes. Notice c1 is covered by the bishop, so no sneaky queen c1 takes b2. Okay, so I'm guessing if queen b3, we're going queen g3, queen takes c2. So this is actually a fork on b2 and c2. Hard to defend. Ah, so JSVC says he got the tempo by not having to play a6. So okay, so yeah, atamek's in the tank. Yeah, so normally there's some sort of bishop here. Yeah, takes. I'm not quite sure exactly. Okay. Okay, so he had a choice to defend g2 or c2, and he decides to defend neither, which is interesting. And I guess the idea was he reckoned this was poisoned because of this, but you get 2 pawns and a queen hovering around the white kings. But okay, he goes for this one. This had a strong threat on the knight as well. He wants the knight. Oh, very nice. Because knight here takes queen. There are too many weaknesses around the white king. He can never castle and so on. And atamek just throws in the towel. So 4 love. I guess this is the sort of phase in the match where they've had some really tight games, and one can very easily get dispirited in this sort of situation. So lose more easily. Just briefly checking on Lichess. Yeah, I am featured on the front page for streaming this. That's good. Okay, so we have a London system, d4, d5. Bishop quite often comes to d3, but here we're taking it to b5, as we see more often in Bughouse, because on d3 it's liable to be forked with the pawn on e4, and he's got exactly what he wants if he got black to play c6, because he's decimated the dark, not decimated, but he's completely opened up the dark squares in black's position. c6 is quite a bad positional mistake, I think, because now black's dark squares are always weak. So he's always got interesting play, and he just doubles up his bishops on those dark squares. So normally you want to take with the pawn, but because this c7 and d6 are so weak, I was about to say actually I'm tempted to take with the bishop and try and make some more play along these dark squares, and that's exactly what he does. Bishop c7, queen c8, backs off, so he just wants bishop takes bishop, nudging the king. Queen could go back to d8 though, and he don't think he wants a repetition. Queen could go back to d8. Yeah, and in which case he could have dropped the bishop on d6 to begin with. So, oh, I'm wrong. Sorry. Queen goes back to d. He gets an extra move by doing what he did. If your queen goes back to d8, it's the same position after bishop at d6, but it's his move. And then I missed how the game actually finished. So just looking at the final position, takes. So he wins a knight. So he managed to get a knight. Now he's getting a knight on c7, forking king and rook. So a second game finishing really quickly. Okay, so just to back up for this one a second, he's managed to get in e5, e4, and white is just pinning that pawn, so it can't take the knight for now. Takes this pawn. Okay. That pawn is free. Is there some trap? So takes. Oh, so it's a bit complicated. Queen here and queen here blocks, defending the knight. So there could be a trade of queens. And you don't really want to take the queen because then you're just helping black to develop. So queen takes pawn looks good, but he's having a little bit of a think. Aldebarva says after the second game, atamek lost his confidence. I'd say it's just the last two. The third game was a really interesting game, I thought, anyway. And maybe, yeah. Was it the second game? I think it was. I thought the third game was the most intense. So what did we see? He did not take that pawn. Okay, so maybe there was a reason not to take it, which I don't see. What was the reason not to go queen takes e4? Chat. Oh. Oh. I missed something. Queen takes e4. Was there queen at e5 check? No. Yeah, with queen a4, you just go queen at c6. Oh, queen c6, bishop b5. Ah, okay. Completely missed that. Okay, that's really nice. Okay, so Katas seeing one move deeper. Okay, now black. Whoa, black wants a queen trade, so just queen at d1, knight takes, rook takes d1, checkmate. Oof, this is hard. Because this could be another really quick win if he doesn't stop it. Okay, he stops it. But there's still like queen takes queen, bishop takes, pawn at b4 kind of ideas, or maybe pawn at b4 first. Another interesting idea. So going instead for knight takes c2, king e2, and then maybe queen at d3. No, bishop. Oh, sorry. Knight takes c2, then take the queen for free, and then queen takes d3, mate. Yep, that's what he's going for. I'm interested in at a4. Does it work? If knight takes c2, it looks lethal. So at a4 forces queen takes a4. Okay, maybe it just doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, so the winner of this will definitely be in the candidates. And Lone Wolf says, Atamek got here thanks to a free win versus Rapid Variance. Oh, this is all over. So, takes, he doesn't go king takes, tries to grab this pawn, and queen takes. F2 comes in with the mate. So there will be a round 5 match, but that's it. That's Jasugi99 through to the candidates. There will be a round 5 match for $100 against. If people are interested, I can bring up the challenge bracket. Yeah. So it's loading up. So there'll be so here the winner of GSVC and Little Plotkin. Okay, so it's already GSVC. So GSVC will now face Jasugi99 for a $100 prize, and both are definitely in the candidates. Okay, and these are the remaining ties in round 4. Jeremy Durham against King Switcher, Mastertown against Mugwort, Chicken Crossroad against Clearcast, Bugzilla against the Finisher, really tough that one, Penguin GM1 against Variants Only, and Schwanet against Zek. Okay, good games. Thanks everyone who for joining me, for watching. I'm going to post this also on YouTube, so if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching there also, and for joining me in the Discord, although no one really joined in the voice, but anyway, thanks for joining in the chat. See you next time. Bye.